I always think every year in the draft there are certain guys that the people within NFL circles are much higher on than the fans. And sometimes the NFL circles are right, and sometimes the fans are absolutely spot on. It's interesting how it works. I think it also goes on the flip side. Sometimes you'll have players that, due to exposure, the program they played on, the name that they have, fans are going to be much more excited about than the NFL community is. I can think back a couple of years ago to Scooby Wright. Like, a lot of NFL fans and quite a bit of draft Twitter thought this guy was really, really good. I think, if I remember correctly, I kind of mocked that and gave him like a 7th round grade and said he was terrible. And where's Scooby right now? Now, there's other instances where I've been wrong too, absolutely. But it just illustrates a point that, sometimes in NFL circles, fans can have different opinions. And sometimes it's hard to know who's going to be right. I look at Rashaan Evans as one of these types of guys where I feel like the reality is that NFL teams, NFL circles aren't quite as high on him, aren't quite as sold on him as a lot of fans and draft Twitter are. And in a couple of years, we're going to find out who's right. I feel like a lot of fans and draft Twitter feel like Rashaan Evans is almost in the Roquan and Tremaine class, and in some cases might be even ahead of Tremaine, but they most certainly all feel that he's a better prospect than Vander Esch, whereas a lot of NFL circles might look at it as Tremaine and Roquan are 1A, 1B. Leighton Vander Esch is closer as a number 2 than a lot of fans and draft Twitter give him credit for, and Rashaan Evans is clearly down in the next hierarchy. It's just a sense. And we'll find out on draft night if Rashaan Evans isn't drafted in the first round, then I'm closer to right on this. And we'll find out. But when I look at Rashaan Evans, I can see some of what people like about him. He played at Alabama, played at a high-profile program, part of a great defense the past couple of years. He's played a variety of different positions. He started off as an edge-rushing type of guy, which really gives him a leg up as a pass rusher, playing inside or middle backer than other guys in this class like Roquan, Tremaine, Vander Esch, what have you. You look at him and you say he's got big game experience, championship game experience. You see an athletic profile there, plays relatively hard, and I can see why people like him. Like, one thing that was frustrating to me about Rashaan Evans was he chose not to run the 40 at the combine and then failed to run it again at the pro day, opted not to, which seemed to rub some people the wrong way. And my thought was, why are you so afraid to run the 40? Like, even if you would run in the 4.7s, all you have to do is turn on the tape, turn on the film, and you can see the speed that Rashaan Evans plays with. He plays with speed just a step below guys like Tremaine Edmonds and Roquan Smith, and at a similar level to Vander Esch, if not slightly quicker at times. He's got plenty of speed to play inside to be considered a sideline-to-sideline player. And even if you felt like you were going to run in the 4.7s or a 4.8, I'm sorry, but if teams can't look at you and see that you have the athleticism to be able to play sideline-to-sideline, then that's their ass. And I think that's part of the reason why NFL teams maybe aren't as high on him as the fans are, because the NFL teams and circles might be a little too focused on the measurables and having a number to validate. At some point in time, you should be able to determine whether a guy is really fast or not. Like, I look at Chris Johnson coming out of East Carolina. Did he need to run the 40 that he did for you to know that he was fast as shit? No. Last year, John Ross. All the injury troubles and everything else. But the one thing you knew on film is that he was incredibly fast. Like, he was elite fast. You did not need a 40 time to validate that speed. You didn't. If he doesn't run the 40, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to look at his film and say, oh my God, he can outrun just about anybody in the league. Would you have needed a fucking 40 time to know that Darryl Green or Deion Sanders were world-class sprinter speed type of guys? No, you wouldn't have. You would hope not. But with Deion, it makes for a great story. So I've looked at Rashaan Evans, and I don't quite get the concerns about athleticism as much, because to me the athleticism does flash and it does show on film. What concerns me more are some of the other areas. Like I mentioned, he started off as an edge rusher. He's got a fantastic spin move. He can throw out that spin move. It is sick. He can make tackles and guards look foolish. He's able to get low and bend the edge against interior linemen, against offensive tackles. Again, playing so much as an edge rusher earlier on in his career pays off. He's got a closing burst that shows up on film. He gets a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. Like, to me, he's got really high upside as a pass rusher, as a middle backer. But again, when you're talking about a middle linebacker or an inside backer, pass rush is kind of like the third thing. You're more concerned about their ability to play the run and cover than you are with them as a blitzer. And to me, he falls very short in coverage and as a run defender. I don't feel he's particularly great in zone. He can struggle to adjust what's going on. To me, sometimes he doesn't fully trust his athleticism and trust himself. And he plays a little too far off, a little too conservative, and maybe part of that comes to the system that he was in. But at times, it felt like he could have guarded guys closer than he actually did. He also showed me some ability to have trouble adjusting to stutter moves and double moves in man. But run defense is where I'm really concerned about him. He struggles with play recognition. His awareness, his instincts are not that particularly great. He misses his gap far more than you would like him to. Like, you allow some big plays. You could have some big plays up the middle of Bama's defense if Rashaan Evans got out of position. And a few times each game consistently, you would see him miss his assignment, blow his gap, and allow potentially a big play to happen. He looks to avoid blocks instead of engaging blocks. He doesn't play with a particularly physical style, and he's already not a huge guy. He's about 6'2.5", 6'3", 235 pounds. Not the most physical player. Like, if we're going to knock Van Der Esch and talk about his playing style not being that physical all the time, I feel like the same would apply to Rashaan Evans, and especially shows up in his lack of sound tackling. He can miss some tackles in a bad way. I look at him, and I'm like, out of the three things you care about the most, the ability to defend the run, coverage, pass rush ability, he's outstanding as a pass rusher and only averages best as a coverage guy and as a run defender. I don't quite see that as a first-round talent. And again, I feel like in this case, I'm more aligned with the NFL circles than I am with some of you, a lot of you probably, and draft Twitter. That's what it is. I think there's also a concern. He's had some injury issues, like he's had this nagging groin injury that's been bothering him for a little while. Is that going to continue to be a thing, or is he going to have other issues that creep up? Then you're also concerned about he played at Alabama, played with all that other great defensive talent. Is that something that's really going to be exposed in the NFL when he has more responsibility? I thought he improved quite a bit in 2017. I really did. But to me, anything more than a mid to late second round pick on him is a bit of a big ask. You know, and I've been right and wrong about Alabama linebackers. I think I was right about Reggie Ragland, wrong about C.J. Mosley, so it's kind of a crapshoot. Just like the draft in general is kind of a crapshoot. But Rashaan Evans, I like him. I just don't love him as a prospect, and I feel like in this case, NFL fans and draft Twitter are pumping him up just a little bit too much.